I was making history. The Great Purge had begun, and I, President Donna Jump, was leading humanity toward a golden era. No more parasites, no more freaks, only real, strong, pure humans. It was the promise I had made to my people, and I intended to keep it. The world had become soft, overrun with degenerates and hybrids, all of them leeching off the hard-working men and women who built civilization. That was about to change. The vampires were first, the so-called immortals who had leeched off our resources for centuries, hoarding wealth, manipulating economies. They had outlived their usefulness. Draining resources, I called it. A necessary step toward efficiency. Cutting is a must. And the people cheered, their voices rising in a patriotic fervor that made my chest swell with pride. Next are the hybrids. These half-human creatures, never truly belonging to humanity, their existence is a stain on our species. They are dragged out of their homes, separated from their families, and sent back to where they were born, or, more nobly, they will serve genetic research. Olin Must assured me that his geneticists could filter out the non-human genes, purifying the worthy and discarding the rest. It was distasteful, but necessary. A sacrifice for the greater good. Must reminded me often.
All greatness requires sacrifice. It's a must.
Next came the personnel cuts. Those who were disobedient, those who wasted government funds, had to be eliminated. Must saw inefficiency as a disease. Only the strongest, most loyal remain. Departments merged, agencies dissolved, and redundancies disappeared overnight. Some were reassigned to re-education programs. Others simply vanished overnight. The government wasn't just streamlined. It was purified, cold, ruthless, and absolutely obedient to its new vision. Productivity soared, but at a chilling cost. Fear. I thought I was winning, until I started losing control. It began subtly. My security detail, hand-picked men I trusted, were replaced by silent, pale-faced operatives.
New recruits,
Must said with a reassuring smile. I was too busy to question him, too blinded by my own success. Orders I gave were mysteriously rewritten before reaching my generals. Policies I never signed off on appeared in government documents. When I questioned my staff, they either went missing or returned glassy-eyed, robotic in their responses, like puppets with invisible strings. People were disappearing. Not just dissenters, not just criminals. My allies, my advisors, those closest to me. I told myself it was paranoia, that Must had it under control. But then I confronted him in his sprawling research facility, demanding answers. He sat in his chair, hands steepled, smiling like a man who had already won.
There are still many who are unworthy, even within our own ranks.
For the first time, I felt uneasy. Then came Project Genesis. Must unveiled his masterpiece. New humans. No hunger. No sleep. No emotions. Perfect efficiency. Perfect loyalty to him.
New humans do not protest, do not rebel, do not demand. Isn't that your dream?
I saw it then. He never intended to create a better world for my people. He was building his kingdom, where he alone ruled over a race of mindless drones. I tried to stop him. I failed. My guards, no, his guards, grabbed me. Cold fingers, unyielding strength, not human. Must loomed over me as I was strapped to the surgical table.
We don't need two leaders, Jump. We need one mind, one vision. You and I must become one.
I screamed, fought, but the machine's word and the needles plunged into my veins. I felt myself dissolve. My thoughts, my memories sucked away, absorbed into something else. Someone else. As my mind unraveled, I saw flashes of my past. My rise to power, my promises, my victories. I saw my rallies. the millions who had once cheered my name, the empire I had built with my iron will. And then I saw the future, a world of silent, obedient creatures staring with empty eyes. A world where there was no dissent, no rebellion. A world where I did not exist. The last thing I saw before everything went dark was Olin Must staring down at me, his face shifting, morphing into something grotesquely familiar. My eyes widened in horror as I saw my own reflection in his features, twisted, warped, but undeniably me. The last thing I heard was his voice, layered over mine. Make human great again, starting with myself. The world kneeled before Donna Must, and I was no longer here to stop it. The world did not mourn me. My name was erased from history, my legacy rewritten to suit Must's vision. My supporters, once filled with fire, now stood in line, obedient, unquestioning. News anchors praised the new era, their voices hollow, their eyes vacant. Cities hummed with an eerie silence, the streets patrolled by beings who looked human but were anything but. I existed only as whispers in the shadows, a ghost in the machine of history. But somewhere deep in the recesses of Must's mind, a fragment of me remained, trapped, screaming, watching as my own creation was twisted into something monstrous. And I realized with bitter finality that I had been wrong. Humanity was not made great again. Humanity was gone.
283명 탈락.
무궁화 꽃이 피었습니다.
192명 탈락. 385명 탈락.
I stumbled, my legs barely supporting me after surviving the latest round of the Squid Game. Player 132, that's who I was now. 77, my closest companion in this nightmare, laughed with a mix of relief and exhaustion.
We made it 132.
For a fleeting moment, his grin was contagious.
Anyway, I'm Hansu.
He said, offering me a bottle of water.
I came here to save my company. It's been going through some tough times.
I hesitated, but his open expression prompted me to reply. I'm Inho, I said quietly, the words dragging like weights. Hansu's eyes softened.
What brought you here?
I hesitated, my throat tight. My wife, she has liver cancer, end stage. The light in his eyes dimmed.
I'm sorry.
He said softly. I gave part of my liver to my younger brother years ago. Now I can't do the same for her. And I don't have time to clear my name. His brows furrowed.
Clear your name?
I sighed, the words tumbling out. I used to be a cop, a good one, but someone framed me for bribery. I lost my job, my reputation, everything. This game is my last chance to save her. Hansu placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder.
We'll get through this together, Inho.
Players, welcome to the fourth game. The game you're playing today is Mingle. All players must step onto the central platform. The platform will spin while music plays. When it stops, a number will be called out. You will have 30 seconds to form a group of that exact number. Anyone left out or in the wrong number will be eliminated.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hansu gripped my arm tightly.
We're in this together, right?
I nodded. The platform began to spin, music blaring as we clung to the railings for balance. When the music abruptly stopped, the overseer's voice boomed.
Form groups of 4.
I reached for Hansu instinctively. 2 others quickly joined us, and a wave of relief washed over me as I glanced at the chaos unfolding. Those left ungrouped screamed in terror as masked guards dragged them away. The game repeated. Each round, the number called out changed. 5, 6. Hansu and I stuck together, forming alliances as necessary. Then came the final round.
Form groups of 2.
We sprinted toward the door right in front of us. It felt like salvation was only a few steps away. But as we neared the door, another player shoved past us, diving into the spot. "Wait!" I yelled, panic surging through me. Hansu froze, his face twisted with guilt.
I'm so sorry, In-ho.
Before I could react, he shoved me backward. My years as a cop kicked in as I lunged forward, grabbing his arm in a vice-like grip.
Let go!
He shouted, his voice laced with fear. "No!" The timer ticked down. 10 seconds. With a final burst of strength, I shoved him away and bolted toward the door. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hansu had been my ally, my friend. But in the end, survival outweighed everything else. The remaining games passed in a blur. Hopscotch. I overcame them with ease. The final game, the Squid Game, didn't pose a challenge for me either. By the time it was over, I wasn't the same person. Every step, every choice was calculated, cold. I won. The prize, 45.6 billion won. But when I returned home, triumph was hollow. My wife was gone. On the table lay a letter, her trembling handwriting scrawled across the page.
I couldn't wait any longer, In-ho, but I want you to know our baby would have been beautiful.
Beside the note was an ultrasound image. I crumpled to the floor, the weight of it all crushing me. Seeking closure, I returned to my old precinct. That's when I learned the truth. Kang Jun, my former partner, had framed me for bribery. He wanted the promotion, and I was the perfect scapegoat. Rage boiled inside me as I tracked him down, knife in hand. I was ready to end his life, but a voice stopped me.
Why waste such anger?
I turned to see a man in a black suit, his face obscured by a sleek, three-dimensional mask.
I can offer you something better. Destroy him the way he destroyed you, ruin his career, and then
He handed me a familiar card.
invite him to the game. Let fate decide if he survives, or let him depend on you.
He removed his mask and handed it to me. With nothing left to lose, I accepted his offer. Now I am the front man. From the control room, I watch as players fight, betray, and bleed. Each scream, each desperate plea, it exhilarates me. When Kang Jun finally stepped into the arena, his pale face stripped of its arrogance, I felt nothing but satisfaction. He didn't last long. As Oh Il-nam, the mastermind of the Squid Game, watched from the shadows, he chuckled.
An interesting game, wouldn't you agree?
I didn't reply. I adjusted my mask and turned back to the screens. The next season was about to begin.
It began like any other morning. I laced up my running shoes and took my usual route through the forest. The crisp air, the sound of leaves crunching beneath my feet. This was my sanctuary. Until today, I nearly stepped on it. A toad sitting eerily still in the middle of the path. I stopped just in time, crouching to get a closer look. Its back was studded with strange golden orbs. At first, I thought they were boils, swollen and ready to burst. Injury, perhaps? But no, the orbs seemed too deliberate, too alive. As I leaned in, the orbs began to sink, like marbles disappearing into the toad's flesh. The holes, deep, dark, and unnervingly round, began to expand. And then, from those grotesque pits, something emerged. I watched in horror as the sacs began to split, revealing grotesque limbs that unfurled with unnatural speed. Tadpoles? No, something worse, birthed directly from the toad's flesh. One of the creatures, slimy and malformed, launched itself onto my arm. I screamed, swatting at the tiny monster, but more of them sprang forth, latching onto my face, my neck. Their tiny, clawed limbs clung desperately to my skin. I could feel the cold, wet slime spreading as I tried to shake them off, but their grip was unyielding. My breaths came in panicked gasps as I clawed at my own skin. Finally, I managed to dislodge them, flinging their writhing bodies into the underbrush. Gasping and trembling, I stumbled home, my arms slick with their mucus. Red welts began to bloom across my skin. In the bathroom, I scrubbed myself raw. The hot water only intensified the burning sensation. I poured soap over every inch of my body, determined to erase the feeling of those things crawling on me. But no matter how much I scrubbed, the sensation lingered. My mind wouldn't stop replaying the scene. Those holes, those sacs, the vile creatures emerging from the depths. When I glanced at the bathroom sink, its drain, a simple circular opening, seemed to pulse. The tiles on the floor with their neat round patterns became a maze of voids. Every pore on my body seemed magnified. Even the tiny pores on my own skin seemed to gape at me, like miniature mouths ready to spew more horrors. I couldn't escape the imagery. Exhausted and desperate, I crawled into bed. I needed sleep, a reprieve from the madness clawing at my sanity. I forced myself to close my eyes and let the world fade away. But when I opened them again, it was there. I bolted upright, heart pounding, but the toad remained, unfazed by my panic. The toad stared at me with its unblinking eyes. Its presence was oppressive, its weight suffocating. My hands. It was my hands that made me freeze. They were slick, their skin darker, shinier. The dim light in my room distorted everything, but even in the shadows, I could see the unnatural sheen. "What did you do to me?" I shouted, my voice breaking. The toad spoke. Its voice was guttural, low, reverberating in my skull.
"I kissed you. You are my mate now. You have to give birth for me."
I scrambled out of bed, nearly tripping in my haste. The mirror on the wall caught my eye, and I turned toward it. What I saw brought bile to my throat. My reflection was no longer human. My skin, now a sickly green-brown, was covered in a slick, mucus-like film. My hands were grotesquely webbed, my eyes bulging slightly from my skull. But worst of all was my back. Through the reflection, I saw golden orbs, the same orbs that adorned the toad, sprouting from my flesh. They pulsed, they quivered. Then, with a sickening pop, the orbs burst open, revealing the same deep holes. My body spasmed as tiny creatures, part human, part toad, began to emerge. Their grotesque forms wriggled free, flopping onto the floor. They called me mother. Dozens of them, no, hundreds, crawled out of me, each more hideous than the last. Their voices, a cacophony of screeches and croaks, filled the room. They climbed onto the bed, the walls, and eventually onto me. Their touch burned, their tiny claws sinking into my flesh. I couldn't scream. My throat was raw, my body overwhelmed. They swarmed me, their weight pressing me down. And as they chanted their grotesque refrain, I felt myself sinking, consumed by their slimy, writhing bodies. Darkness swallowed me. I woke to the sterile hum of fluorescent lights. My skin was raw, covered in red, itchy welts. A doctor stood over me, clipboard in hand.
"You've had an allergic reaction,"
he explained, his tone clinical.
"Probably from contact with a toad. You're lucky it wasn't worse."
Relief flooded through me. It was just a reaction, a nightmare fueled by fever and paranoia. But as I sat up, something caught my eye. Tiny, round holes had begun to form on my arm, and for a moment, I swore I heard a faint croak.